Hi everyone, this is Atharva Mahendale. I'm the Director of Tech and Comms and for HBSA, and this is the first podcast for HBSA Radio. And we're really here to bring you guys a lot of different unique voices from the undergraduate program here at Haas. And today with us we have Daniel Tsentsiper. He's an incredible person. I've met him. I've known you since how long exactly?
It's been about a year.
Been about a year, yeah. So it's been an incredible time. He's a great friend of mine, and I'm really excited to feature him today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, great. Daniel, would you like to give yourself a little introduction?
Awesome. Yeah, well, hey everyone. I am Daniel Tsentsiper. I'm currently senior, so I'm going to be graduating 2 years, so it's definitely bittersweet. I've been with HBSA for about a year now. Started off with the finance committee as an associate, and now I'm the director of entrepreneurship. So it's been a really, really great ride with HBSA, and very proud, to be here with you today, and just excited to talk about whatever you have for me.
Perfect. So I think the first thing that we kind of want to explore is your journey to Haas, which of course your transfer, you started at a community college. Could you kind of talk a bit about that, like how that experience was? Like, for example, what kind of made you choose a community college over a conventional, like, four-year university?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I start off by saying I'm really proud of my transfer journey, and one thing that I love to do and I'm really proud of is trying to give back to my community college, because it's given me so much. I'll tell you, at the beginning when I was considering where I wanted to apply to colleges, applying to a 4-year was just outside of my peripheral. I didn't even think that was an option for me, and growing up, I always knew that I was going to take a different path. And so I decided to apply to CC as a junior in high school, actually. So I was, I knew I needed some time. I wasn't mature enough. Plus, I didn't want to study for the SAT. I did not want to do that. I was lazy back in high school. And once I started community college, it opened up my eyes to the potential that I have. And I went to Irvine Valley College, which is in Southern California. Right off the bat, I talked to a counselor, asked them to give me a path to, university, and the rest is history.
That's pretty incredible. I feel like a lot of people, like, this is a very unique experience. I think like only you would be able to have.
Right.
And I'm sure like transfers have their own like unique stories that they have to tell, and that's really what we're here for.
Exactly.
So that's pretty awesome. How would you find the community at community college, at Irvine specifically?
Right. Well, Irvine Valley College is different than a lot of the community colleges because it's very small. So it's very personal. You know everyone in the college. You know the professors. I sat in an accounting class that was 20 people.
Wow.
And I got to be, I was taught by one of the best accountants and CPAs and CFOs, actually. So it was very personal, which I really enjoyed. But that's not the case for a lot of other CCs. Some of the more underfunded CCs are, they don't have the resources, those amazing professors that I had. So I'm truly blessed for that. The community that I found early on in community college was through some of the business programs. I did Business Leader Society, I did the Financial Club. I was actually a tutor, so I got to meet a lot of cool students and make some money on the side. So that was my community, right? I just kind of went around and found people that had similar interests with me, and just build a bond through there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How have you felt? Has Haas been a different experience for you in terms of the community than the community found in community college? Like, how would you say that they've been different?
It's honestly, that's a great question. I think that the community here at UC Berkeley specifically is very diverse. So that's the first thing that was a shock to me. There's a club for literally anything. I remember we talked first when we became friends. You mentioned the Harry Potter decal.
Right.
And that was your community early on. And I found my community with the transfers, the Haas transfers, which are amazing people. And then I started to explore other areas. So now I'm, really into the entrepreneurship committee through the Satarja Center of Entrepreneurship. But I think the communities in both, different parts of my life were woven from the same cloth. And I say that because, you have to find the people that you vibe with. And at the beginning at community college, I was joining all these organizations just to put something on my resume. And once I came to Berkeley, I realized that that's not a way to do it. You need to be genuinely passionate about the communities that you're a part of so you can give back to them. So that was one of the learnings that I got from Berkeley.
Yeah, no, I feel like one of the biggest things I've also kind of learned from Berkeley is just, having that community to support you whenever you need it and to be able to actually give back. We just had Big Give here at Haas and, really across Berkeley. And so I think that's definitely one of the big themes that we're dealing with right now as an undergraduate community.
That's right.
That's great. And how would you say, like, IVC, like, really shaped your interests while you were there?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, the reason why I went to community college is because I wasn't ready yet. I didn't know. I knew what I wanted to study. I knew it was something with business, but I wasn't ready to go sit and study and hit the books. And so IVC gave me a buffer, 2-year buffer to just explore and just see what I was passionate about. When I first came to IVC, I decided to become a personal trainer. I got my certificate. I got hired at the local gym, and I was training, from night and day and doing school at the same time. And that's where I found my passion for entrepreneurship, because I recognized that I was getting paid $15 an hour at the gym, which was nothing. For the work I was doing, I was hurting my back and, aching every single day. It just wasn't worth the salary. And so I started training on the side. And a big rule of commercial gyms is you can't do that, right? You don't want to cannibalize their business. And so I started training those clients at their homes, at their apartments. And I was commanding $60, $70. And I was like, that was powerful. Like, knowing that I have a valuable skill in the marketplace and I could make a good deal of money doing something I'm passionate about. And then I recognized that my clients, they enjoyed my training, but they weren't seeing their progress. And even though we were training quite a bit, one thing was lacking. And, the pinnacle of any fitness journey is your diet. And so I started making my clients meal preps. I loved to cook at the time, and I was doing it for myself. And I started sharing my food with my clients, and started a small business. And I called it Primal Meals at the time. I remember before COVID, I had 3 chefs working with me and a good chunk of clients. It was a great deal of fun, and that's what really shaped me into, I would say, an entrepreneur. It gave me that spark, that tenacity, and that ability to speak to clients and solve problems and market it, right? So there's a lot of great learnings along the way.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like that's a great entrepreneurship story, and we're going to get into your current startup at Veriply in a bit. But I think one of the key takeaways from that is that you have to find, like, a lot of different, there's a bunch of different things that you can find. There's hidden opportunities pretty much everywhere, really. Exactly. So that's fantastic. So kind of talking a bit more about, that your transfer journey really from IVC to Berkeley. What colleges did you kind of have in mind when you knew it was like time to transfer, and what really just made you pick Haas in particular?
Oh yeah, that's a great story. When I was first applying to the colleges, I did not want to go to Berkeley. I've heard horror stories. I perused Reddit. I've just was scared, frankly, about Haas. I thought it would be outside of my league, and I actually wanted to go to UCLA. At the time, I loved UCLA. I grew up in the Valley, passed it every single day of school. There was just an affinity to it. And then I realized once I was trying to make that decision that the business econ program was just not for me. I hate math. I love economics, but I don't want to be studying proofs all day. Right. And then I actually sat down and started asking people the right questions. I spoke to a UCLA business econ grad, and I asked him, I said, if you had the choice, what would you choose, Haas or UCLA? And he said, hands down, Haas. And so once I heard that, I knew my decision was crystal clear. And then the second thing, the reason why I actually decided to click the accept button was I spoke to someone by the name of Ken Singer.
Oh, yes.
Ken Singer is the director of the Satarja Center.
Right.
He hosted a forum where he talked about the entrepreneurship community at Cal, and that was what I was interested in, coming to a 4-year institution. And we got on a phone call one day. He was nice enough to give me 30 minutes of his time, which is very precious. And I asked him, I said, how is Cal? He goes, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. This is the place to tap into the Silicon Valley ecosystem and a place to grow, a place to be inspired by amazing builders, and a place to engulf yourself in a diversity of, entrepreneurship and of education.
Wow. I mean, I think that's what I've always loved about, Cal and Haas in particular. Like, I think everyone here is like incredibly innovative. And I'm very glad that obviously you're here now, and that you got to see that, when you were deciding between schools.
Well, I'm glad to be here. That's for sure. 2 months out till graduation, one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Awesome.
Go Bears.
Go Bears. Well, now given that you're here, and also given that, getting into Haas is, as you said, very, very difficult. It has a low acceptance rate. What tips would you give for anyone going through the application process now, and, just things that they should be doing or thinking about during their community college and transfer experience?
Yeah, so I've worked with a lot of prospective transfer students, and the thing that I learned early on is that you have to be genuine and you have to be true to yourself. So for example, when you're writing those UC apps, they ask you these questions, and these questions can be very open-ended. And I can bet you, a couple dollars that there's going to be people that write the exact same response. For example, the creativity. Someone's going to write about, how they love to paint, or, why Berkeley, and, that prompt, why Berkeley. Exactly. They're going to say the same thing. Great university, great professors, good resources, blah, blah, blah. And so what I tell people is to put yourself into the shoes of the reader, mm-hmm. and, have empathy for them. Do they want to read the same cookie cutter response, or do they want to see something unique? And so a lot of people actually get scared by that because they mm-hmm. think, what? I'm not unique. I'm just average. And that's where I push back and say, no, you're not average. You are your own person. You have your own experiences. You have your own ups and downs. Put that into writing. Be very Absolutely. Genuine with your story. And if you see yourself BSing it, then you know that you're not ready yet.
Yeah. No, I think like one of the biggest things that, when I was going through the continuing student process, which is obviously different than transfer, but I feel like one of the things that Haas is very much about is authenticity. So I feel like that really resonated with me, what you just said about that, being true to yourself and not just going through the same cookie cutter things that you may see other people doing. And I think that honestly kind of transitions well into the next thing, which is about kind of your journey within Haas, which is, has ties to entrepreneurship, which we'll also get to in a bit, but also, the ups and downs of being here. So, walk me through the first couple months of your time here at Berkeley. How was it like transitioning to the Haas environment? And did you feel welcome? Were there any, major moments of, just like, this is really welcoming, this is really great. And also, were there any moments of, you're like, oh, I don't really know if this is for me?
Yeah. I'll break it down into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Perfect.
So I'll start off with the good. The good thing about transferring is you meet new people. It's a fresh start. And so I built so many amazing relationships, friendships with professors, with my fellow transfer students, with continuing students. And that is what truly excites me, building those authentic relationships. And so that is definitely the good. The bad is recruiting was tough.
Yeah.
Recruiting was really, really tough. I remember applying to, 100 different companies and not even hearing anything back. And, I really don't want to talk about the recruiting process. That's its own podcast.
Right.
But it's tough as a transfer because you don't have anything under your belt that has the Berkeley seal. And so a lot of the times you're trying to fluff things up, and then that's where you kind of fall into the trap of being inauthentic. And then the ugly is, this feeling of othering, right? This feeling that you don't belong, the imposter syndrome. I think that's what's ugly at the beginning because you feel like you don't belong. And luckily, there's a lot of amazing programs and opportunities and initiatives done in HBSA to include transfer students in the conversation and make them feel a part of this community. And so I'm so blessed for that. But it's still very tough.
Yeah. No, I mean, I absolutely think that a lot of people go through that over here. And as you just talked about it, imposter syndrome is quite real, especially when you come to such a great place like Berkeley, where there's so many incredibly talented people over here. But I'm glad that you've now found your people here, and stuff that you actually enjoy doing over here, your passions, and hopefully classes that you love to take. Speaking of which, what have been your favorite classes?
That's a good question. I do want to kind of close off that thought you just had, and just to for any transfer student or any even continuing student
Sure.
that's lost and doesn't know what they want to do, I want to send you this message. So if you take one thing away from this conversation that I'm having with you, Atharva, is that you have to be true to yourself. I brought that up in the application portion, but I think it's the only card you can play, right? And that's your advantage. You have to be genuine. You have to be true to yourself. You need to continuously ask yourself, am I doing things for other people? Am I doing things for a salary? Am I doing things for a great career? Or am I doing things for me? Am I genuinely passionate about it? So my favorite classes, love Becoming a Change Maker with Alex Budek. Love that class. I cannot speak anymore highly of it. It's just amazing. You get to really discover who you are as a leader and spark an initiative within the UC Berkeley campus. I love Negotiations with Holly Schroff. Mm-hmm. That's a great class. And, she really gave me the power within myself to, you take that class as well.
I did. That was in the 8 a.m. section.
You become so much more confident. You become so much more confident in your speaking and your negotiations. And you realize that everything in life is a negotiation.
That was, I think, the biggest learning that I took away, frankly, from it. It was just a different framework for approaching conflicts, frankly, because It was about negotiations and conflict resolution, like coming to a way in which you can provide value for both people. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And you talk about being a change maker here at Cal, right. And you have your entrepreneurship journey here. Now you said you're the director of entrepreneurship. You're one of the co-directors here at HBSA, which is our student government. What would you say is missing at Haas when it comes to supporting these change makers or entrepreneurs in their journey over here?
In Haas specifically, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I love Haas. I'm just going to start off by saying that I love Haas, and this is only constructive criticism. I think that Haas does a great job with the ABCs. It gives students the opportunity to make an amazing career for themselves within banking, consulting, accounting, and a lot of the resources are tailored to students with those interests. But I think what Haas can do better, and they're currently working on it, and I think the Changemaker Initiative highlights this effort, is that I really hope for Haas to spotlight some of the non-ABC career paths. So the D through Z. And I actually know one of our our VPs is working on a workshop.
Absolutely.
So you guys should definitely check that out. But I wish they put more effort into things like entrepreneurship, more effort into careers in marketing, in nonprofit work, and social impact.
Absolutely.
And I see that trend happening, right? A lot of CSR initiatives are being born here at Haas, but I think there needs to be a movement, some sort of movement where it can spark more students to consider that a path for them. So perhaps maybe what that will look like is changing the requirements to graduate, right? 107, True. UGBA 107 ethics was the first time I actually heard and studied about CSR.
Yeah.
And, that class is great, but it's not enough.
Damn, I absolutely agree that's a very, very valuable thing to say, because especially in this day and age where, I think ethics are kind of being thrown out the window sometimes. And innovation, comes, you have to have sustainable innovation that really comes with having a set of values that you follow. I think that absolutely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is your startup, Veriply. Could you just tell us a little bit more about what it is?
Yeah. So Veriply.
Veriply.
A lot of people confuse it. It's a combination of the words verify and comply.
Right.
This startup was born actually outside of Haas. And this is where I kind of want to hopefully take this conversation and close it off on this. I started this project in the Satarja Center, SCET. And this is underneath the engineering department. And it was a course on entrepreneurship where essentially it's like a boot camp. You form teams, you work on a project, you do the research, you pitch to investors. And at the time we were, we had a group of engineers, myself including. I was the only business student. And we were doing some sort of project within contract compliance. That's where the name came from. We wanted to use NLP to verify contracts and stuff. And then we discovered that there's a need out there. And the need is that a lot of companies end up deprioritizing the overview process and the verification of their transactions, meaning that if you're, let's say, a small business and you're constantly just thinking about the next day, the next month, and you're busy, with your clients and running your shop, you don't have the time to go through and audit every single transaction, right? It just doesn't make sense from a cost and time perspective. And so you end up outsourcing all that work. And a lot of the times those bookkeepers, the person you're working with, they make mistakes. And how would you know? Fraud costs small businesses upwards of, I don't even know the figure anymore, but it's in the billions. The fraud
in the billions,
about billions of dollars. I think 40-something billion dollars is lost to fraud and errors.
That's insane. I did not know that.
And the fraud detection market is huge. And don't quote me on that number because I'm mixing it up, but it's a huge market. And there's a lot of errors that could be made. And with automation, I think we can help kind of bridge that gap and empower small businesses to, take a look at their books, right? Empower them to not think of this as an afterthought, but think of this as a strategic decision-making unit, right?
Right.
If you have clear data, if you have all of the information about your balance sheet, your P&L, your burn rate, all of this stuff available for you, you can make smarter decisions. And that's what we're trying to do with Veriply. We're essentially helping companies clean their books. And we're using AI, we're using automation to do that.
Got it. That sounds like a killer idea to me. That's a winner in my book.
Let's hope. It's
hope.
95 good chunk of startups end up failing, but
true.
It's the learning that you get from it that I think is priceless.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree. I love entrepreneurship myself, and I think this is a really great sentiment to have, because I think learning is always. We're here to learn.
Exactly.
But yeah, did you how did this idea really came about?
Sure. So this idea came about because one of my early co-founders was working with another company. And that company was having a problem with their invoice validation. So meaning they had a bunch of transactions and they didn't have a process to verify everything. And the only thing they did have was extremely manual, and it costed them more to actually do the work than it was to, take a risk and lose some money. And so that's where we came up with the idea. And then what happened next was what I think is so great about the entrepreneurship education at Berkeley is that we did the research. We went and talked to the users. We identified the pain that they were having. We asked them the questions to see if this is something that was worthwhile for them. And so for us, it was the greatest lesson for us was actually running through the method of entrepreneurship and figuring out whether or not the solution was something that was valuable in the market. And for now, we believe it is. And so we developed our beta program. We're working with businesses at the moment, and we're testing to see if this is something valuable for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very, that's, I just love hearing about the way in which all these different things started, because I feel like there's so many unique factors that have to really come into play when having some brilliant idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fantastic. What's been the biggest challenge that you've had to face with Veriply?
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge is balancing school and work.
Absolutely.
As Berkeley students, we're under-rested, definitely overworked, and there's not enough time in the day to do everything. And so my biggest challenge has just been managing everything. And so I'm really excited to graduate because, then I have some time to actually put into the company. I'll be full-time in May. And then I would say also the other challenge is just navigating the ecosystem. I think that Berkeley is such a big school and there's so many opportunities, but there lacks the connective tissue to, help you navigate from, resource to resource, from department to department, from organization to organization. And That is something we're trying to do with the Entrepreneurship Committee.
Got it.
We're trying to empower students to think of entrepreneurship, like I mentioned, diversity angle of it, talk about the opportunities on campus, and to provide Haas students with the resources and provide students all across Berkeley with the information that they need to start their own business. And so my goal with the Entrepreneurship Committee is to connect the business students with the amazing engineers, with the amazing data scientists, economists, historians. Everyone across the university can come together and unite under the entrepreneurship tag.
Yeah, and I feel like I think you mentioned this before, which is that, Haas Radio has such a big focus on the ABCs that we sometimes lose sight of what I think makes Haas so great, which is its people and the talent and the innovation that's present.
That's right. The problem solving and
Exactly.
the ability to connect with people. I think that's what Haas strives in its education, but there needs to be more.
Yeah, and so I'm so thankful that you're the co-director of our newest committee, the Entrepreneurship Committee. And yeah, just looking forward to the future, where do you see Veriply going?
No, thanks so much for asking. The future, I hope, is bright. I tend to be a little bit more of a cynic when it comes to it. I'm definitely not a cynic, but I'm a realist. I hope for the future of Veriply is to be able to serve the small business market. I hope we don't lose that focus and that vision. We started off with trying to help large businesses, and then we realized that we're much more passionate about helping the small mom and pop, the startup founder, the small business angle. And so I hope we can continue within that market. And I know from speaking with industry experts and other investors and entrepreneurs that the SME market is extremely tough to break into. But I hope that we can make a splash and hopefully, help a business succeed. And that's what that's my why. That's why I'm doing this. And so I hope we don't lose track of that vision statement. I also hope to just have fun. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything in which I'm not having fun. And so 10, 20 years from now, if Veriply is still around, I hope I'm having fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's the goal for really anyone. And to kind of quickly touch on one thing you said, which I think really resonated with me as well, is having that golden why, as I've heard for a lot of different companies, for example, Microsoft, one of the major things that I remember hearing about from a speaker was that the reason why they're so big is because they, had a particular reason for why they're doing everything. And for them, their mission statement was, I believe it's to, empower people to live better lives. Sorry, go ahead.
We actually had this conversation on our drive to retreat, if you remember.
And that was him. There you go. I'm glad. This is what I mean. I don't know all my sources, and there you go.
Well, that is Simon Sinek, an amazing guy. And if you're still listening to this podcast 27 minutes into it, definitely check out Simon Sinek. It's understanding why you're doing what you're doing. And then the rest follows. So with the case of Microsoft, they're making computers. Great, that's cool. Anyone can make a computer, but their vision statement, as you mentioned, right, their why is what truly drives their business forward.
There you go. See, it comes all the way around. I'm learning things from Daniel. Everyone else is as well.
I'm learning things from you as well, man. This is why I love Berkeley and why I love Haas.
Yeah. So just kind of to wrap it up a little bit here. Taking all of your experiences, maybe that's across community college, being a personal trainer, or Veriply, what's been your proudest moment in the last few years? And it's a big question.
That is a big question. I think my proudest moment will be in 2 months from now, once I graduate. Like I said, I never imagined I would be at Berkeley, let alone graduating with some of the brightest people in the world. So ask me that in 2 months, and hopefully we can hopefully this dream will come true for me.
Absolutely.
Just gotta hang tight.
Hang tight in those courses.
Yeah, a couple more months. Just all I need are seeds. That's it.
Exactly. Well, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, this has been great. This is our first one ever. I'm so glad it's with you. And I think we got some incredible information for all of you out here. An incredible person with incredible perspectives. Thank you so much for participating in this podcast.
Thank you.
And we hope that you all stick around. These will be happening every couple of weeks or so, and we'll be pushing them out on our website. So have a great rest of your day, and I hope you all tune in for next time. Thank you so much.